there, and welcome to the Stories for Tomorrow podcast. We love chatting with interesting people with stories to tell. In each episode, we will be sharing true stories told by real people. We hope you enjoy it. This podcast is sponsored by Klokbox, a digital memory box of your life to be shared with future generations. With your host, Larissa Lima.
Hey, I know you're gone, the clock keeps moving on. I feel this lost.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Stories for Tomorrow podcast. Today, we're speaking to a very kind soul that loves uplifting people by sharing positive messages. She's also an author and inspires many people around the world with her beautiful poetry. I am sure you'll be inspired after listening to her. And by the way, she gave us a beautiful surprise at the end of the episode. So, with no further ado, let's get started with Melanie Moses. Hello, Melanie. How are you today? I'm so glad to have you here.
Hello, Larissa, and it's so lovely to be invited. Thank you very much.
That's very nice. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you speaking from?
Today, I'm dialing in from South Wales in the UK, and I live in the countryside. I live with my lovely family. I've got a daughter and a son, and I've got two wonderful grandsons. I've lived in South Wales all my life.
That's very nice. And would you have a favorite childhood memory to tell us today?
Oh my goodness, there are so many. But if I was to really focus and say one that will always be a fond memory, it's of my grandfather. He lived till he was 93. He was he served in the veterinary corps, and he was a very clever man. So if you can picture the scene, if you can picture the film Beauty and the Beast,
yes.
Belle's father, he was an inventor. That was my grandfather. He was always making things. He used to make windmills that would move. He made a cathedral out of old wooden pegs.
Wow.
And you'd press buttons and a choir would sing inside. He wasn't religious or anything. He was just somebody that loved making things. And he kept himself busy. He had all his factories. I just loved visiting him because it was always something fun to learn, fun to do with him. He was a big impact, I would say.
That's very nice. So, Melanie, you're the author of the book Poetry in Motion, where you share some of your beautiful poems. Would you mind tell us a little bit about how does your passion for poetry started?
I've always had a love for writing. I've always been creative. If you were to ask any of my teachers when I was in school what was my strengths, they would always sway towards English and the arts. You know, I was always into the creative things. You put me in a maths lesson, and I was one of those that was regularly getting told off for daydreaming because I never wanted to be in those sessions. I just love writing. It comes naturally to me, and I find it very therapeutic. And we all have ups and downs in life, and I find for me, writing gives me pleasure, but it also de-stresses me as well. So it's always been a hobby of mine, and that's followed me right the way through from childhood to now.
That's so nice. And you also share daily poems on LinkedIn, where you have a huge following and people that just love your poems over there. I'm one of those.
Oh, bless you.
When did you decide to start sharing your poems with the world?
Oh my goodness. It's been a long time, actually, probably since I joined LinkedIn. I just started writing, and slowly people were starting to like and comment and say lovely things. And of course, it would inspire me to write more. And then before I knew it, my audience was just growing. And then I was getting messages, "Where are you? You haven't written anything today. We're waiting." And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, there's people out there that are enjoying what I'm putting together. And they started off as articles with just still images. Then it moved to using GIFs to make them a little bit more engaging. And now I'm fortunate sometimes to find some lovely videos that some amazing people have created. And sometimes the videos fit what I've written, and vice versa. It's just naturally grown. And I think because I genuinely care about my readers and I love the inspiration they give me, whenever they comment, it gives me more energy to do more, and my book, Poetry in Motion, that was written for my readers. There's actually a tribute in the pages, in the opening pages in that book, because I would never have written the book or put it together if it wasn't for some of the wonderful people that support me every day. And I've made so many friends from all over the world that without LinkedIn, I would never have had contact with before.
Yes.
It's opened up so many opportunities, just conversations where you can help others for other things as well, aside from the written word. It's just been great.
That is amazing, Melanie. It's crazy how internet help us making friends from all over the world and create those connections, I just love LinkedIn. So how do you get inspired to write your poems? How does the process work? Do you need to be in a specific environment, or does it come naturally? How does it work?
For me, I can write about any topic. So it can come in many forms. Somebody could say, I'd like you to write about this, and I know I could write something. Because I love writing so much, it just comes naturally to me. Some of my inspiration, believe it or not, I can be in a deep sleep and come 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I can hear in my mind, I can hear words and like a chant almost. And I think, oh my gosh, there's a really good poem coming here. And I literally get my notebook or grab my phone and type in the notes. And then I revisit it the next day and see if I can find a picture or something to go with it. There are other times when I can go for a walk in nature. I've got a lot of countryside around by me. So I've got lots of greenery, lots of wildlife. I love butterflies. I love the robins, the foxes, anything like that. So there might be something that will spark a little story. And a poem is a perfect way of a very short and sweet topic to share with the world. And because time is precious to everyone, you're not reading loads and loads of pages. It's just on one page, and it's something that everybody's got time to have a little glance at. And don't get me wrong, poetry is an acquired taste. It's not for everybody. And some people just like the videos that I share. It doesn't matter. I think as long as somebody is getting a little bit of joy somewhere in the world, or whatever they take away from what I write, then my job is done. If I've made somebody a bit happier and give them a little bit of a welcome distraction, then I feel good about that.
That's beautiful, Melanie. Very nice. So reading your poems brings good feelings, and it helps you keep a good attitude towards things in life. What is the importance of keeping a positive attitude and being grateful, in your opinion?
Would you like to pass on your legacy for free? Sign up now for the 21-day story challenge and share your adventures, memories, wisdom, and life experience with future generations. Click the link in the description of this episode and start sharing stories, photos, videos, and audio recordings on the Klokbox app. This podcast is sponsored by Klokbox, a digital memory box of your life.
Well, for me, I'm a strong believer in a lot of the concepts from the law of attraction. So I've studied a lot of really amazing people, and I've got some amazing connections that are into the same philosophies as me.
Yes.
So I believe what you think about, you bring about. And if you focus on positive things and see beauty in the world, you'll see more beauty. And if you focus on negative, you'll attract more negative, and you'll see more negative. So I remember Dr. Wayne Dyer saying, you can look at the world 2 ways. You can look at the world as a beautiful, friendly place, and that's what you will experience. Or you can look at the world as a horrid, hostile place, and that's what you will experience. So I think there's a lot to be said in how you view the world through our own lenses, what we take in through our senses and what we experience. And don't get me wrong, I have my down days like everybody else, but I try and catch those thoughts when they happen. And then turn to journaling and writing things that I'm grateful for, because I know strategy for getting rid of negativity, because you can't hold positive, appreciative thoughts at the same time as negative ones. The brain is a reptilian brain. It can't cope with the two. So it's much better to win with some love and light, if you like, with some positivity instead.
100%, Melanie. And you actually mentioned in one of your posts that you learned something very interesting in an event with Joseph McClendon. He's a top psychologist. He said that your attitude will determine how far you will go in life. And you said something very funny. You're like, in order to change your attitude, get up and move because emotions follows emotions. So is that the reason why you always try to bring that positive attitudes in your poems?
Yes, absolutely. I have trained, they say success needs clues. Okay. And the only way you get better is by studying people in the field that are better than you. And none of us are born experts. I've recently turned 50 years old and I'm still learning new things all the time. I learn them off lots of younger people in my organization, people outside, my own children, my grandchildren, even. But one of the events I went to, which was amazing, was an event that was held by Tony Robbins in London at the Excel Centre. And it was Unleash the Power Within. So it's again falls in line with the law of attraction. But this is all to do with quantum physics as well. Mm-hmm. And I learned how to do the fire walk down there. And it's like anything. If you're taught a process by an expert that is proven to work and you follow that process, you get the results. And at that event, it was amazing. I managed to do the fire walk and it was such a great feeling of exhilaration when you walk across hot flames and coals and, you don't damage your feet or anything. You think, oh my God, how did I just do that?
That's great.
And Joseph McClelland was the supporting artist. He travels a lot with Tony Robbins and he was on stage sharing his psychology and concepts that he's learned in life and sharing with the audience. And he was amazing. I'd never seen him before until that point. And I loved him straight away the minute he took the stage. He is such a charismatic gentleman. But also he made me laugh because to explain this concept, he's saying, do any of you, want to feel happier in life? Do you want to do this? And he basically does this sexy dance on stage. And he says, well, I want you all to get up and shake your ass. And that's what he says, because emotion follows motion. And if you're feeling slouchy, lethargic, you need to drink a glass of water, get up and actually move. And when you move, already you're activating more positivity. So all these things have got science behind them that prove these things work. And he details a lot of that in his research and in his book as well.
That's very nice. That's so cool. So you also told me that you like journaling. Would you say that journaling helps you to write poems? Do you think there is a connection between journaling and writing an inspiring and creative poem? Do you think it helps you in a way?
Yeah, I think so, because anytime you write, your brain is working. You're engaging your hand, and the moment you engage in your left and right brain as you're writing things down. So you're helping the logical side as well as the creative side. And I think when you're writing words of appreciation and gratitude for what you have, you're building more words into your unconscious mind, which later on come in useful when you're creating other things or brainstorming ideas with others. Nothing we ever learn is a waste of time. There's a lot of things that don't make sense as well to people, perhaps where English is a second language,
I know.
So a London copywriter said to me once, there's some funny little phrases, that we use. So for instance, why do noses run? And why do feet smell? If you think about it, we know what it means, but it is quite funny when you analyze it.
Exactly. That's funny. And after all those years, what would you say was the most important thing that you've learned in life?
I think chasing perfection. Even nature is beautiful, but imperfect in its own way. There is no such thing as perfect. So you don't have to be perfect. And I think also no one was born an expert. So it's good to learn from your mistakes and not beat yourself up for making mistakes. I think when you're young, as you're going through childhood, you have experiences where people tell you off for doing things and you take it quite harshly. Some do, depending on how they've been raised. And I think it's taken me years to realize that actually making a mistake is not a bad thing as long as you learn the lesson. And if you learn the lesson, if you do it another time, though, then it's a choice, So I think that was a key message. And only experience can bring some of these key points and, the wisdom that you garner from them to life. And I think another thing is change is constant. How I looked 10 years ago is very different. This is a different person now. And this person that I see before me is going to change again, So embracing change rather than fighting against it, because you're not going to win. It's like time, it keeps ticking. So I
Yes.
think embracing what comes rather than trying to hold on to what's gone, if that makes sense.
That's very cool. So just one final question before we wrap it up. So as you know, the sponsor of this podcast is Klokbox, a digital time capsule to be shared with future generations. So let's say you have an opportunity to leave a time capsule to your loved ones for when you leave this earth. What would you say would they find in it? What would you put into your Klokbox, Melanie?
I think it's a lovely question. I think it's a lovely thing to do as well. And I think for me, it would be a very quick, maximum 2-minute video, just so they can see me as I was, if you like, and the energy and the vibrancy in my voice. But also probably a book that I've written, because each poem would have something personal about me, because there's the essence of me running through them. And probably just a little letter so that they can see my handwriting as well, written to them with love, just giving them some nuggets of wisdom that I've learned that will hopefully help them in later life too.
Oh, that's very kind. Thank you, Melanie, for taking the time to speak with us today. I just love it getting to know you a bit better and understand more about your passion for poetry.
Oh, you're very welcome. And thank you so much for inviting me. It was an honor, like I said, and it's been lovely to take part.
Oh, I'm very glad to hear it. I would like to have one final wish before we finish. To finish your episode in the best way possible, I would love to have you reciting to us my favorite poem. It's The Beauty of Love. Would you mind to do it?
Okay, no problem. Let's do that. To make a difference in someone's life, you just have to care. No need for riches or brilliance, just be there. The connection and friendship lasting over 1 million miles, treasures emerging from the heart with loving smiles. Comfort in knowing you are not alone, a bond woven through eternity, emotions clearly shown. Affecting the great and touching the small, like magic opening an enchanted door. Love and light cascading, reflecting all around. After all, the beauty of love knows no bounds. No requirement for perfection as it gently unfolds, a coveted prize for many to behold. It always finds its way into deserving hearts and minds, perpetually travelling on the wings of time.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Stories for Tomorrow. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. This podcast is sponsored by Klokbox, a digital memory box of your life to be shared with future generations. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next episode.